In the news tonight, Jordan and Saudi Arabia will sign a number of agreements after talks of the Joint Cooperation Council. The Iraqi army reports advances in its onslaught to retake Mosul amid fears of a long battle and an exodus of refugees. And Russia extends a humanitarian ceasefire in the Syrian city of Aleppo. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. The newly formed Joint Jordanian-Saudi Coordination Council held its first meeting in Riyadh. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki and Saudi Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz co-chaired the meeting, which explored ways to further strengthen ties between the two kingdoms. The two sides stressed the importance of the council, whose establishment was signed after talks in Riyadh in April between His Majesty King Abdullah and Saudi monarch Salman bin Abdulaziz. Mulki and Prince Mohammed signed memos of understanding at the end of the meeting. Among these was a memo sealed by the Saudi General Investment Authority and the Aqaba Special Economic Zone Authority to launch an investment project in Aqaba. Another memo was one to avoid double taxation and prevent tax evasion, and a fourth on industrial cooperation, in addition to an executive program between the two countries' radio and television corporations. The United States expects Daesh to use crude chemical weapons as it tries to repel an Iraqi-led offensive on the city of Mosul. U.S. officials said the group's technical ability to develop such weapons is highly limited. The head of Iraq's special forces said his forces are facing up to 6,000 fighters in Mosul. Hannah Dababne has the details.
The Iraqi army and Kurdish fighters pressed on with an offensive to retake Mosul from Daesh militants for the third day in a row. Kurdish Peshmerga forces advanced on the village of Bartella, 21 kilometers east of Mosul. Fighting is expected to take weeks, if not months, as 30,000 government forces, Sunni tribal fighters and Peshmerga troops first encircle the city and then attempt to oust the militants.
Plans are being implemented faster than expected. The movement of the forces was fast, and they were fast in circumventing the city from all sides. The forces closed in on the city of Mosul, and therefore the liberation of the city will be fast. You know that we cannot disclose plans and timings due to security and military reasons, but we are fully confident that the city will be liberated in a very short time.
More than 5,000 U.S. soldiers are also deployed in support missions, as are troops from France, Britain, Canada, and other Western nations. The Iraqi army is attacking on the southern and southeastern fronts, while the Peshmerga carried out their operation to the east and are also deployed north and northwest of Mosul. The Kurdish forces said they secured a significant stretch of the 80-kilometer road between Erbil and Mosul. Coalition warplanes attacked 17 Daesh positions in support of the Peshmerga operation in the heavily mined area. They said at least 4 car bombs were destroyed. Almost 1,500 Iraqis displaced by the fighting arrived at the Dibaka refugee camp south of the Kurdish capital Erbil. It is home to around 30,000 refugees, but more are expected to arrive now that the operation is underway. The recent arrivals were from the Huwaija and Sharqat towns south of Mosul. Iraqi counter-terrorism forces were seen driving along a road near Khazar, north of Mosul, to join an operation to recapture the city. A member of the forces said they would eliminate all members of the terrorist Daesh group. A total of 20 villages were taken from the militants east, south, and southeast of Mosul yesterday. Hala Dababne for the news at 10.
The Russian military said they would extend a humanitarian pause in the Syrian city of Aleppo by 3 hours. Russian army official Sergei Rudskoy told a briefing in Moscow that the pause will be extended to 1900 hours local time tomorrow. Russia says it stopped airstrikes in Aleppo yesterday. French President François Hollande said he would do everything possible to try to extend the ceasefire in rebel-held eastern Aleppo. Hollande said he will discuss Syria with the Russian President and German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin later in the day. Speaking alongside Hollande in Paris, Brita Haji Hassan, President of the City Council for Opposition-held Aleppo, said Europe had talked a great deal about saving the city, but done very little in reality. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan warned that at least 1 million Syrians could flee to Turkey if there is an exodus from Aleppo. Erdogan told local administrators he discussed with the Russian president last night an agreement on removing all al-Nusra Front from Aleppo. Meanwhile, a special session of the UN Human Rights Council on the worsening situation in Aleppo will be held following a formal request from Britain. At least 35 people were killed during fighting on several fronts in Yemen that took place just hours before a 72-hour UN ceasefire went into effect. The fighting was centered near the Saudi border and in areas near the capital, Sana'a. The Iranian-backed Houthi group welcomed the extendable ceasefire set to begin at midnight. UN humanitarian coordinator for Yemen, Jamie McGoldrick, told reporters in Sana'a he hoped the break in violence will allow aid organizations access to areas that have been closed off due to fighting. He said aid and relief organizations will use the 3-day truce to access some of the areas affected most by the fighting, yet receive the least assistance due to lack of access.
We have large-scale humanitarian operations underway in this country throughout many parts of it, 75%. And during the cessation of hostilities, we would hope to do our best to deliver assistance to those in areas where we haven't been able to reach for some time. So that's our ambition.
Israeli forces shot dead a 19-year-old Palestinian woman at a checkpoint in the occupied West Bank. The occupation army alleged the woman advanced towards soldiers at the Za'atara junction south of the Palestinian city of Nablus with a knife in her hand. A military spokesman said the woman was shot after ignoring orders to halt. In over a year of violence, Israeli troops have killed at least 222 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. Palestinians and human rights groups accuse Israel of using excessive force and say some of those killed posed no threat or had no intention of attacking anyone. A landmark case in Istanbul over alleged crimes committed by Israel during the 2010 aid flotilla to Gaza could be dropped as a result of a bilateral agreement signed in June. The Mavi Marmara was part of a larger aid flotilla, and the court case has been brought on behalf of hundreds of people who say they were wounded, assaulted, or imprisoned during the raid. Though an Istanbul High Court held a hearing today aimed at holding 4 Israeli generals to account for alleged assault and unlawful detention of hundreds of activists, victims of the raid fear the court may halt the case brought by them because of a deal to restore ties between Israel and Turkey. The deal also requires Turkey pass legislation protecting Israeli soldiers against flotilla raid lawsuits. Outside the courthouse, dozens of activists gathered in support of the case.
We are strongly supporting the case here in Turkey, and our very firm plea to the court has been that they must continue with the case, that the so-called agreement between Israel and Turkey is not a treaty that is enforceable. It is unlawful under international law, under the European Convention on Human Rights, and under Turkish law, and that the criminal case against those who are accused must continue at all costs.
I can tell you that Palestinians in Palestine are watching this case, because if the Turkish judicial system won't hold Israel responsible for Turkish lives, then what possibility is there for anyone being held accountable for Palestinian lives?
And back here at home, Her Majesty Queen Rania said teachers who work hard to improve their skills and seek progress are those most capable of instilling commitment and dedication in their students. Attending the launch of the first national pre-service teacher training program at the Queen Rania Teacher Academy headquarters, the Queen congratulated the first batch of 200 teachers on being selected to enroll in the training program. She vowed to work towards providing this quality training opportunity to all teachers in Jordan so that they are equipped with the knowledge and advanced skills and techniques they need to do their noble jobs. Queen Rania described teachers as our partners in the education reform process and the guardians of this profession. The initial teacher education diploma offers an encompassing teacher training that recognizes merit and passion in teachers and gives novices the opportunity to practice and refine their teaching skills before being tried in the field.
My impression about this program is it will help us to understand how I can teach a student in a different way, in an innovative way, in a creative way. In addition, it is a new program that helps a teacher to be more confident in himself. He can teach the student in a different way, in a creative way.
Las Vegas is preparing for tonight's third and final presidential debate at the University of Nevada between Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump. The debate comes as opinion polls show Trump falling further behind Clinton in recent days and his allegations that the upcoming November 8 election is rigged against him. According to an average of polls compiled by Real Clear Politics, Trump trails Clinton by 7 points in national opinion polls. Trump has grappled with the fallout from the dissemination earlier this month of a 2005 video in which he was heard using vulgar language against women, in addition to him fending off reports that he may not have paid any federal taxes over several years. The controversies will be the backdrop for tonight's debate. Meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama called on the Republican nominee to stop whining about the election being rigged and concentrate instead on trying to win votes.
I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes. And if he got the most votes, then it would be my expectation of Hillary Clinton to offer a gracious concession speech and pledge to work with him in order to make sure that
farmers in Afghanistan's fertile south harvested a bumper crop of deep red pomegranates this year, but they say barriers to international trade in the landlocked country means much of their fruit may go to waste or be sold too cheaply. The country is struggling to emerge from decades of war. Fruit exports accounted for more than a quarter of all Afghan exports in 2014. The obstacles to trade have posed a serious threat to one of the few functioning parts of Afghanistan's economy. Most of Afghanistan's pomegranates are exported to Pakistan, where prices are often low and where border crossings can be fickle. An album created especially for cats is being lapped up by humans too, topping 2 classical music charts. Universal Music released Music for Cats, the first ever major label deal for music aimed at animals, and comprises of 5 cat-friendly compositions. Despite being allergic to cats, cellist David Attea, a soloist with America's National Symphony Orchestra, released the Music for Cats. The science of Music for Cats is based on Attea's theory that every species of mammal has an intuitive biological response to sounds present in their early development. He said he started his theory by looking at how music composed for animals affected human emotions. And it was the human response of purchasing the music that has moved the album to #1 on the iTunes classical music charts.
Oh my God, Lizzie. Subject was very good. Shall we?
Competitors shed blood, sweat and tears as they took on the infamous Jungle Marathon. Athletes from all over the world took on the 254-kilometer battle through the Brazilian rainforest, but out of the 50 competitors who started, only 31 managed to complete it. The race takes place across 6 separate and equally challenging stages, with competitors taking on swamps, water crossings and steep climbs, as well as dealing with the humidity and treacherous terrain provided by the jungle. Eventually, however, Australian Andy Turner emerged victorious in the men's event, while Isadora Soares claimed the female winner's trophy. The race has become an annual flight of passage for endurance running enthusiasts and is now in its 12th year. Croatia international Luka Modric signed a 2-year contract extension with Real Madrid that will keep him at the club until 2020. The midfielder joined Real from Tottenham Hotspurs in 2012 and signs a new contract just weeks after midfielder partner Toni Kroos also extended his deal with the Spanish club. The club is set to announce more new deals for Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale and Pepe. Modric has secured 2 UEFA Champions League wins with Madrid, 1 Spanish Cup, 1 Spanish Super Cup and 2 Europe Super Cups. He has made 180 appearances for Real, scoring 11 goals during his time in Spain. And finally, a quick look at the weather. Relatively cold tonight in most regions of the country, while fair in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea with northwesterly light winds. Tomorrow, fair conditions continue in most parts of the kingdom, while it will be relatively hot in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea. And the Gulf of Aqaba can for sure also expect a relatively hot day tomorrow, while winds will be northerly and at the seas slightly high. Here now is a look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. Jordan and Saudi Arabia will sign a number of agreements after talks of their Joint Cooperation Council. The Iraqi army reports advances in its onslaught to retake Mosul amid fears of a long battle and an exodus of refugees. And Russia extends a humanitarian ceasefire in the Syrian city of Aleppo. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Ali Abdul Khan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.